Section 16 of Poems of American History, the Colonial Era. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Anne Boulay. Poems of American History, the Colonial Era, Chapter 4, The Dutch at New Amsterdam, Part 2. But troubles at home prevented any extensive effort at colonization until 1621, when the States General chartered the Dutch West India Company, which in 1623 sent Captain Cornelius Jacobsen May with 30 families to start the colony. The Praise of New Netherland. With sharpened pen and wit, one tunes his lays, to sing the vanity of fame and praise. His moping thoughts, bewildered in a maze, in darkness wander. What brings disgrace, what constitutes a wrong, these form the burden of the tuneful song, and honor saved, his senses then among the dark holes ponder. For me it is a nobler thing I sing, New Netherland springs forth my heroine, where Amstel's folk did erst their people bring, and still they flourish. New Netherland, thou noblest spot of earth, where bounteous heaven ever poured forth the fullness of his gifts, of greatest worth, mankind to nourish. Whoe'er to you a judgment fair applies, and knowing, comprehends your qualities, will justify the man who, to the skies, extols your glories. Who studies well your natural elements, with the plume of science, gains a sense of all the four, fails not in their defense, before free juries. Your air, so clear, so sharp to penetrate, the western breezes softly moderate, and, tempering the heat, they separate it from all moisture. From damp, and mist, and fog, they set it free, from smells of pools, they give it liberty. The struggling stench is made to mount on high, and be at peace there. No deadly pest its purity assails, to spread infection o'er your hills and vales, save when a guilty race great sins bewails in expiating. Your sun, the original of fire and heat, the common nutriment of both to eat, is warm and pure, in plants most delicate, much sap creating. Nor turf, nor dried manure, within your doors, nor coal extracted from earth's secret stores, nor sods uplifted from the barren moors, for fuel given, which with foul stench the brain intoxicate, and thus, by the foul gas which they create, the intellects of many, wise and great, men are outdriven. The forests do, with better means, supply the hearth and home, the stately hickory, not planted, does the winter fell defy. A valiant warden, so closely grained, so rich with fragrant oil, before its blaze both wet and cold recoil, and sweetest perfumes float around the while, like in Eden's garden. The water clear and fresh, and pure and sweet, springs up continually beneath the feet, and everywhere the gushing fountains meet, in brooks o'erflowing, which animals refresh, both tame and wild, and plants conduce to grow on hill and field, and these to man unnumbered comforts yield, and quickly growing. The earth in soils of different shades appear, black, blue, and white, and red, its bosom bears abundant harvests, and what pleases, spares not to surrender. No bounds exist to their variety, they nourishment afford most plenteously, to creatures which, in turn, man's wants supply, and health engender. O fruitful land, heaped up with blessings kind, whoe'er your several virtues brings to mind, its proper value to each gift assigned, will soon discover, if ever land perfection have attained, that you in all things have that glory gained. Ungrateful mortal, who, your worth disdained, would pass you over, in North America behold your seat, where all that heart can wish you satiate, and where oppressed with wealth inordinate, you have the power to bless the people with whate'er they need, the melancholy from their sorrows lead, the light of heart exulting pleasure's seed, who never cower. The ocean laves secure the outer shore, which, like a dike, is raised your fields before, and streams like arteries, all veined o'er, the woods refreshing, and rolling down from mountains and the hills, afford upon their banks fit sites for mills, and furnish what the heart with transport fills, the finest fishing. Jacob Steendam. Other expeditions followed, but though the colony prospered, the mother country could provide little means of defense, and it was practically at the mercy of the English, the swine of Steendam's verses. The Complaint of New Amsterdam, 1659. I'm a grandchild of the gods, who on the Amstel have abodes, whence their orders forth are sent, swift for aid and punishment. I of Amsterdam was born, early of her breast forlorn, from her care so quickly weaned, oft have I my fate bemoaned. From my youth up left alone, naught save hardship have I known. Dangers have beset my way, from the first I saw the day. Think you this a cause for marvel? This will then the thread unravel, and the circumstances trace, which upon my birth took place. Would you ask for my descent? Long the time was it I spent in the loins of warlike Mars. 'Tiseems my mother, seized with fears, prematurely brought me forth. But I now am very loath to inform how this befell. Though 'twas thus, I know full well, Bacchus too, it is no dream, first beheld the daylight's beam from the thigh of Jupiter. But my reasons go too far. My own matter I must say, and the loiter by the way, e'en when Bacchus oft has proved friend to me in my misfortune. Now the midwife who received me was Bellona. In suspense she long did sit in trembling fear, for the travail was severe. From the moment I was born, Indian neighbors made me mourn, they pursued me night and day, while my mother kept away. But my sponsors did supply better my necessity, they sustained my feeble life, they procured a bounteous wife, as my nurse, who did not spare to my lips her paps to bear. This was Ceres, freely she rendered what has nurtured me. Her most dearly I will prize, she has made my horns to rise, trained my growth through tender years, midst my burdens and my cares. True both simple 'twas and scant, what I had to feed my want, oft was naught except sapon, and the flesh of buck or fawn. When I thus began to grow, no more care did they bestow, yet my breasts are full and neat, and my hips are firmly set. Neptune shows me his good will, Mercury quick exerts his skill, me to adorn with silk and gold, whence I'm sought by suitors bold. Stricken by my cheeks' fresh bloom, by my bounteous youthful form, they attempt to seize the treasure, to enjoy their wanton pleasure. They my orchards too would plunder. Truly 'tis a special wonder, that a maid with such a portion does not suffer more misfortune. For I venture to proclaim, no one can a maiden name, who with richer land is blessed, than the estate by me possessed. See, two streams my garden bind, from the east and north they wind. Rivers pouring in the sea, rich in fish, beyond degree. Milk and butter, fruits to eat, no one can enumerate. Every vegetable known, grain the best that e'er was grown, all the blessings man e'er knew, here does our great Giver bestrew, and a climate ne'er more pure, but for me, yet immature, fraught with danger, for the swine trample down these crops of mine. Uproot too my choicest land, still and dumb the while I stand, in the hope my mother's arm will protect me from the harm, she can succor my distress. Now my wish, my sole request, is for men to till my land, so I'll not in silence stand. I have labours almost done, let my household large become, I'll my mother's kitchen furnish, with my knickknacks, with my surplus, with tobacco, furs, and grain, so that Prussia she'll disdain. Jacob Steendam. In spite of this neglect, the new town thrived apace. Friendly relations were established with the settlers at Plymouth, and the colony seemed to be moving steadily toward a golden future. In May 1647, there arrived from Holland the new director, Peter Stuyvesant. He ruled supreme until 1664, when New Amsterdam surrendered to an English fleet. Peter Stuyvesant's New Year's Call, 1 January A.C. 1661. Where nowadays the Battery lies, New York had just begun. The new-born babe, it rubbed its eyes, in 1661. They christened it New Amsterdam, whose burghers grave and stately, and so, with schnapps, and smoke, and psalm, lived out their lives sedately. 2 windmills topped their wooden wall, on statues gazing down, on fort, and cabbage plot, and all, the quaintly gabled town. These flapped their wings and shifted backs, as ancient scrolls determine, to scare the savage Hackensacks, Paumanks, and other vermin. At night the loyal settlers lay betwixt their feather beds, in hose and breeches walked by day, and smoked and wagged their heads. No changeful fashions came from France, the Fräulein to bewilder, and cost the burgher's purse, perchance, its every other guilder. In petticoats of linsey red, and jackets neatly kept, and vrows their knitting needles sped, and deftly spun and swept. Few modern school flirtations there set wheels of scandal trundling, but youths and maidens did their share of staid, old-fashioned bundling. The new year opened clear and cold. The snow, a Flemish ell in depth, lay over Beekman's wold and Wolfert's frozen well. Each burgher shook his kitchen doors, and drew on his Holland leather, then stamped through drifts to do the chores, bestrewing all such weather. But, after herring, ham, and kraut, to all the gathered town, the dominie preached the morning out, in Calvinistic gown, while tough old Peter Stuyvesant sat pewed in foremost station, the potent, sage, and valiant third governor of the nation. Prayer over at his mansion hall, with cake and courtly smile, he met the people one and all, in gubernatorial style, yet missed, though not the day was old, an ancient fellow feaster, Herr Govert Leukermans, that bold brewer and burgomeester, who in his farmhouse, close without the picket's eastern end, sat growling at the twinge of gout that kept him from his friend. But Peter strapped his wooden peg, when tea and cake were ended, meanwhile the sound remaining leg its high jack-boot defended. A woolsey cloak about him threw, and swore by wind and limb, since Govert kept from Peter's view, Peter would visit him. Then sallied forth, through snow and blast, while many a humbler greeter stood wondering whereaway so fast strode bluff Hardkoppig Peter. Past quay and cowpath, through a lane of vats and mounded tans, he puffed along, with might and main, to Govert Leukermans. Once there, his right of entry took, he hailed his ancient crony. "Mein God! In dies Manhattoes, Luke, wie gets more snow as money?" To which in after whiffs profound, with doubtful wink and nod, there came at last responsive sound, "Ja, Peter, ja, mein God!" Then Godevrow Marie sat her guest beneath the chimney gable, and curtsied, bustling at her best to spread the New Year's table. She brought the pure and genial schnapps that years before had come, in the New Nederlandts perhaps, to cheer the settlers home, the long-stemmed pipes, the fragrant roll of pressed and crispy Spanish, then placed the earthen mugs and bowl, not long delayed to vanish. Thereat with cheery nod and wink, and honours of the day, the trader mixed the governor's drink as evening sped away. That ancient room, I see it now, the carven nutwood dresser, the drawers that many a burgher's vrow begrudged their rich possessor, the brace of high-backed leathern chairs, brass-nailed at every seam, 6 others, ranged in equal pairs, the bacon hung abeam, the chimney front with porcelain shelved, the hearty wood fire, the picture on the steaming delft of David and Goliath. I see the 2 old Dutchmen sit, like Magog and his mate, and hear them, when their pipes are lit, discuss affairs of state. The click that would their sway demean, the pestilent importation of wooden nutmegs from the lean and losel Yankee nation. But when the subtle juniper assumed its sure command, they drank the buxom loves that were, they drank the motherland, they drank the famous Swedish wars, stout Peter's special glory, while Govert proudly showed the scars of Indian contest gory. Ere long the berries' power awoke some music in their brains, and trumpet-like, through rolling smoke, rang long forgotten strains, old Flemish snatches, full of blood, of phantom ships and battle, and Peter with his leg of wood made floor and casement rattle. Then round and round the dresser pranced, The chairs began to wheel, and on the board the punch bowl danced a Netherlandish reel, till midnight o'er the farmhouse spread her New Year skirts of sable, and inch by inch each puzzled head dropped down upon the table. But still to Peter, as he dreamed, the table spread and turned. The chimney log blazed high, and seemed to circle as it burned. The town into the vision grew, from ending to beginning. Fort, wall, and windmill met his view, all widening and spinning. The cowpaths, leading to the docks, grew broader, whirling past, and checkered into shining blocks a city fair and vast. Stores, churches, mansions, overspread the metamorphosed island, while not a beaver showed his head from swamp to Calcook highland. Eftsoons the picture passed away. Hours after, Peter woke to see a spectral streak of day gleam in through fading smoke. Still slept old Govert, snoring on in most melodious numbers. No dreams of 1861 commingled with his slumbers. But Peter, from the farmhouse door, gazed doubtfully around, rejoiced to find himself once more on sure and solid ground. The sky was somewhat dark ahead, wind east the morning lowery, and on he pushed, a 2 miles tread, to breakfast at his bowery. Edmund Clarence Stedman. End of Section 16.